The certified letter sits on my kitchen table. The return address from Brennan, associates law firm, making my hands shake. I already know what it says. My son, Daniel, is suing me for $350,000. $350,000. The exact appraised value of Sweet Morning Bakery, the business I built from nothing 26 years ago. The business he wants me to sign over to him. For free. I pick up the phone and call my friend Margaret from book club. He actually did it, I tell her. Daniel filed the lawsuit. Margaret's been my rock through this whole nightmare. Oh, Claire. I'm so sorry. What's his claim? I read from the legal papers, my voice catching, undue influence and tortious interference. He's claiming I'm being manipulated by outside parties who convinced me not to give him the family business that's rightfully his. I laugh, but it comes out bitter. The outside party is apparently Stella Chen, the business broker I hired to help me retire. That's insane. He's arguing that as the only child who worked in the bakery growing up, he has an implied contract to inherit it, that I promised it to him verbally when he was 16. I set the papers down. Margaret, I was teaching him work ethic. He washed dishes 3 summers before going to college and never came back. Now he's 34 with a marketing degree, and suddenly he wants to be a baker? That's not quite true, and I know it. Daniel doesn't want to be a baker. He wants to own something worth $350,000 without paying for it. Let me back up. I need to tell you how we got here. And Jews like. I bought Sweet Morning Bakery in Mukngin Chin Cham Chin Mui Chin. Well, I didn't buy it exactly. I started it. My husband, Robert, had just left me for his dental hygienist. I was 53, hadn't worked in 20 years, and suddenly needed to support myself. And 12-year-old Daniel. I'd always loved baking. My grandmother's recipes, so I took my half of the divorce settlement, $10,000, and opened a tiny bakery in a strip mall in Greenville, South Carolina. Those first years nearly killed me. I worked 18-hour days. Daniel would come after school and do homework in the back, while I kneaded dough and dealt with demanding customers. He helped sometimes, washing dishes, taking out trash. Good kid. He understood we needed the money. The bakery grew. Word spread about my cinnamon rolls, my sourdough, my lemon lavender scones. I moved to a better location, hired staff, built a local following. Sweet Morning became a Greenville institution. Daniel went to Clemson, got his degree, moved to Charlotte for a corporate job. He'd visit for holidays, always kind, always grateful for what I'd sacrificed to put him through school. He married Brittany, a sweet girl who worked in pharmaceutical sales. They had a nice life. I was proud. I never promised him the bakery. Why would I? He had his own career. But last March, everything changed. I'd just celebrated my 65th birthday. My assistant manager, Jessica, had organized a surprise party at the bakery. Friends from church, my book club, regular customers. It was beautiful. Daniel and Brittany drove down from Charlotte. During the party, Daniel pulled me aside. "Mom, we need to talk about your retirement." I laughed. "I'm not ready to retire." "You're 65. You've been doing this for over 25 years. Don't you want to slow down?" The truth? Yes. My knees hurt. My back ached. I woke at 4 a.m. every morning to start the ovens. But the bakery was my life. "Maybe in a year or 2, I said. "Brittany and I have been talking." He lowered his voice. "We want to move back to Greenville, take over the bakery, keep it in the family." My heart jumped. The idea of Daniel taking over, of Sweet Morning continuing, of me finally resting. It sounded wonderful. "That's exciting," I said. "We'd need to discuss terms, of course. The business is worth quite a bit now." His face changed. "Terms? Well, yes. Fair market value. I'd give you a family discount, of course. But I need my retirement money. I've put everything into this place." "Mom." He looked shocked. "You can't be serious. I'm your son." "I know, honey, but this is my retirement fund. I can't just give away $300,000. You don't need that much. You own your house. You have Social Security." Something cold settled in my stomach. "Daniel, I built this business from nothing. It's my life's work. And I'm your life's blood, he said. Family businesses stay in families. You pass them down. That's how it works. We didn't resolve it that night. Daniel left the party early, Brittany looking uncomfortable. Over the next few weeks, he called repeatedly. Each conversation followed the same pattern. He wanted the bakery. I wanted fair compensation. He acted like I was betraying him. Mom, I worked there as a kid. You washed dishes 3 summers, Daniel. You chose a different career. This is what Dad would have wanted. That one stung. Robert had never cared about the bakery. He'd left before I started it. Finally, in May, I made an appointment with a business broker. Stella Chen came highly recommended. She spent 3 days reviewing my books, my lease, my equipment, my customer base. She came back with a comprehensive valuation. Mrs. Morrison's Sweet Morning Bakery is worth approximately $350,000. Given your location, your established brand, and your consistent revenue, I could sell this in 6 months. I felt dizzy. $350,000. Robert's dental hygienist had gotten more in our divorce. If your son wants to buy it, Stella continued, I'd recommend a family discount. Maybe $300,000. But I wouldn't go below that. This is your retirement security. I called Daniel that night. I've had the bakery appraised, I said. It's worth $350,000. I'll sell it to you for $300,000. That's a $50,000 family discount. Silence. Daniel, $300,000. Yes. It's very fair. I don't have $300,000, Mom. You could get a business loan. Or we could do seller financing. I'm trying to be reasonable. Reasonable. His voice rose. You're charging your own son for a business he helped build. You didn't build it, Daniel. I did. This is unbelievable. What happened to you? You used to care about family. I do care. That's why I'm offering you a $50,000 discount. It's not enough. He hung up. Brittany called the next day. Claire, I think there's been a misunderstanding. I liked Brittany. She was usually the calm one. What misunderstanding? Daniel's always assumed he'd take over the bakery someday. You used to tell him stories about it being his inheritance. I never said that. He has different memories. Brittany, I need this money to retire. I'm 65. I can't work forever. You own your house outright. You'll have Social Security. What do you need $300,000 for? I almost laughed. Healthcare? Travel? Emergency funds? I'm getting older. Brittany, what if I need assisted living someday? What if I get sick? That's years away. Daniel needs the business now. His corporate job is making him miserable. This is his dream. Then he should pay for his dream. She sighed. You're being really selfish, Claire. After she hung up, I sat in my quiet house and cried. Was I being selfish? Shouldn't I want to give my son everything? But $300,000 was everything. It was every early morning, every aching muscle, every Christmas I'd worked through, every time I'd chosen paying rent over buying myself new clothes, every sacrifice I'd made. Margaret came over that night with wine. We sat on my porch. You're not selfish, she said. You're protecting yourself. That's healthy. He's my only child. And he's asking you to give up your financial security. If he can't afford to buy the business, he can't afford to run it. That thought had occurred to me too. If Daniel couldn't get a $300,000 business loan, what did that say about his finances? About the bank's confidence in his ability to operate a bakery? In June, Daniel stopped calling. No Father's Day card. Nothing. I tried calling him. Voicemail. I texted. Nothing. I reached out to Brittany. Read receipts showed she saw my messages. No response. I hadn't seen my son in 2 months when the first letter from his lawyer arrived. It wasn't the lawsuit yet. It was a demand letter. Cease and desist all communications with business brokers. An accusation that I was experiencing diminished capacity and being manipulated by Stella Chen, who was taking advantage of an elderly woman to extract commission fees. I'm 65, not 90. My mind is sharp. I called my own lawyer, Patricia Green. She read the letter and frowned. This is a pressure tactic, Patricia said. He's trying to scare you into giving him the business. But Claire, you need to understand something. If he does sue, this could get ugly. Expensive. Drawn out. What are my chances if it goes to court? Excellent. You have every right to sell your business to whoever you want at whatever price you want. There's no implied contract just because he's your son or because he worked there briefly as a teenager. But litigation is stressful. Are you prepared for that? I thought about my quiet house, my early mornings at the bakery, Daniel's face when he was 12, doing homework in the back room while I built our future. I just want to retire, I whispered. Patricia leaned forward. Then call Stella. Sell the bakery to someone else. Take your money and retire. You don't need Daniel's permission, but I didn't want it to end like this. I wanted my son back. I tried one more time. I drove to Charlotte, showed up at Daniel's house. Brittany answered. Claire, this isn't a good time. I need to talk to Daniel. He doesn't want to see you. Brittany, please. He's my son. She looked tired. You chose money over family. There's nothing to talk about. I'm not choosing money over family. I'm asking for fair compensation for 26 years of work. Same thing. She started to close the door. Wait. I pulled out my phone, showed her Stella's valuation. Look, this is what it's worth. I'm not making this up. I built something real, something valuable. That took sacrifice. She barely glanced at it. If you loved Daniel, you'd give it to him. The door closed. I sat in my car and sobbed. My friend Janet from church called while I was driving home. Claire? Are you okay? Claire? 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 Are you okay? You sound terrible. I told her everything. Janet listened, then said, You're coming to church tomorrow, and you're sitting with our group. You need community right now. I'd been pulling away from church, from book club, from friends. Embarrassed, ashamed, like I'd done something wrong. But the next Sunday, I went. Janet introduced me to her prayer group. 6 women, all around my age. I told them my story. Mary, who'd owned a restaurant for 30 years, shook her head. My daughter wanted my restaurant too, wanted me to gift it to her. I sold it to a young chef instead for asking price. Best decision I ever made. My daughter got over it. Did she really? I asked. After about 2 years and some therapy. Mary smiled sadly. But she did. And now we have a relationship again. Based on respect, not entitlement. Those women became my lifeline over the next months. Because in August Daniel sued me. The complaint was 30 pages. I read it in Patricia's office, shaking. Daniel claimed I'd promised him the bakery verbally when he was 16. That he'd made career decisions based on this promise. That he'd worked in the bakery for years, 3 summers, and was integral to its success. That I was experiencing cognitive decline. I'm not. And being manipulated by Stella Chen, who had undue influence over me. That I'd become irrationally hostile to my own son. The lawsuit sought $350,000 in damages, plus attorney's fees. He wants you to pay his lawyers too. Standard in these cases. Claire, I need to ask you something difficult. Is there any truth to the cognitive decline claim? No. Good. We'll have you evaluated by a neuropsychologist. Create a record. As for the promise, did you ever, even casually, tell Daniel he'd inherit the bakery? I thought hard. I told him he could be anything he wanted. I told him the bakery would provide for his education. I told him I was proud of building something. But I never promised it to him. Good. That's your testimony. Discovery was brutal. Daniel's lawyers demanded every financial record, every conversation with Stella, every email. They deposed me for 6 hours, asking the same questions over and over, trying to catch me in contradictions. Mrs. Morrison, when your son was 16, did you tell him the bakery would be his someday? I may have said something like, someday, this could all be yours, as a motivational thing. Like when parents tell kids they could be president, not as a legal promise, but you said it, as encouragement, not as a contract. They showed me photos of teenage Daniel in the bakery, wearing an apron, smiling. Argued he'd invested his youth in my business. I wanted to scream. He'd worked part-time for 3 summers, then went to college and never looked back. But the worst part was the discovery phase. Patricia's investigator found something. Daniel had been in talks with a commercial real estate investor named Marcus Webb. Emails going back 6 months. Before our initial conversation about him taking over the bakery, the emails were damning. Marcus to Daniel. Once you acquire the property, we'll do a quick renovation. Flip it to a corporate coffee chain. You'll clear high chunk minimum. Daniel to Marcus. Working on acquisition. Should have it locked down by summer. Marcus to Daniel. Family transfer. Smart. No capital required. He'd never wanted to run the bakery. He'd wanted to flip it for profit. Patricia showed me the emails in her office. I read them twice, 3 times. My hands went numb. My son was going to destroy my bakery. I whispered. Yes, he was going to sell it to Starbucks or whoever. That's what it looks like. All those speeches about family legacy. About keeping sweet morning in the family. About his dream of being a baker. Lies. All lies. He just wanted to cash out. I cried for 2 days straight. Janet and Margaret and Mary took turns staying with me. Bringing food. Letting me talk. I don't understand, I kept saying. I gave him everything. I worked myself to the bone to give him a good life. You did, Janet said, and he's making bad choices. That's not your fault. The trial date was set for October. As the date approached, I couldn't sleep. I lost weight. Customers at the bakery asked if I was okay. I wasn't, but my church group kept me going. They came to the bakery for coffee. They prayed with me. They reminded me I had value beyond being Daniel's mother. The trial lasted 3 days. Daniel's lawyer, a sharp man named Thomas Brennan, painted me as a confused elderly woman, being manipulated by a predatory business broker. He called Stella to the stand, implying she'd taken advantage of me. Stella was brilliant. Mrs. Morrison hired me to provide a professional valuation. I gave her facts. She made her own decisions. Decisions that benefit you financially, Brennan said. If she sells, yes, I earn a commission. But I also told her she could sell directly to her son at a reduced price. I gave her options. She chose what was best for her retirement security. Brennan called Daniel to the stand. My son looked good. Professional suit. Earnest expression. He testified about working in the bakery as a kid, about his memories of me promising him it would be his someday, about how much he loved baking. Under cross-examination, Patricia destroyed him. Mr. Morrison, when was the last time you baked bread? It's been a while. Years. Yes. Can you describe the process of making sourdough starter? He couldn't. Patricia pulled out the emails with Marcus Webb. Mr. Morrison, is it true you were planning to sell the bakery to a corporate chain immediately after acquiring it? The courtroom went silent. Those emails were taken out of context, Daniel said. Really? What context makes flip it to a corporate coffee chain mean something other than what it says? I was exploring options. That doesn't mean I would have done it. But you never mentioned these options to your mother, did you? When you were asking her to give you the bakery for free. It wasn't about the money, except the emails suggest you would have made $200,000 flipping your mother's life's work. That seems like it was very much about money. And I watched Daniel's face crumble, watched him realize he'd been caught. Patricia called me to the stand last. I was terrified, but I told the truth. But Patricia called me to the stand last. I built Sweet Morning from nothing. It represents 26 years of Fora Bend. Wake-ups, of burnt hands, of missed holidays. It's worth $350,000. That's not greed. That's the market value of my life's work. I offered my son a $50,000 discount. He refused. That's his choice. But I won't apologize for knowing my value. The judge, a woman in her 60s named Helen Rodriguez, listened carefully to everything. On the 3rd day, she called for closing arguments. Brennan gave his speech about family obligation, about implied contracts, about elderly mothers owing their children security. Patricia was brief. Your Honor, there's no law requiring mothers to impoverish themselves to enrich their children. Mrs. Morrison has the right to sell her business to whomever she chooses, at whatever price she chooses. Her son's sense of entitlement doesn't create a legal obligation. Judge Rodriguez took a break to review everything. When she came back, she looked directly at Daniel. Mr. Morrison, I want to ask you something. If Sweet Morning Bakery were owned by a stranger, someone with no relation to you, and that person offered to sell it to you for $300,000, would you consider that a fair price? Daniel hesitated. I suppose. Would you try to buy it? If I could afford it. But you can't afford it, can you? You testified you don't have access to $300,000 and haven't been approved for a business loan of that amount. No, Your Honor. So if this were anyone else's bakery, you simply wouldn't be able to buy it. Correct? Correct. Then why should your mother be forced to give you for free what you couldn't afford to buy from anyone else? Why should she subsidize your business aspirations with her retirement security? Daniel didn't answer. Judge Rodriguez looked at his lawyer. Counselor, I've reviewed the evidence. There's no written contract. The verbal promise your client recalls was, at best, a vague parental encouragement. There's no evidence of cognitive decline. And frankly, the emails suggesting your client planned to flip this business for profit undermine his claim that this lawsuit is about family legacy. She turned back to Daniel. Your mother spent 26 years building something valuable. She has every right to retire comfortably. You have no right to her assets. Simply because you're her son, this lawsuit is dismissed. Furthermore, I'm ordering you to pay her attorney's fees. Perhaps that will encourage you to think carefully before filing frivolous lawsuits against your parents. The gavel came down. I sat there, shaking. Patricia hugged me. Janet and Margaret, who'd come to support me, were crying. Daniel left quickly. Brittany following him. He didn't look at me. I won, but it didn't feel like winning. That night, alone in my house, I cried again. Different tears this time. Relief. Grief. Loss. I'd won the case. But I'd lost my son. Over the next weeks, I moved forward with selling the bakery. Stella found a young couple, Emma and David Chen, who wanted to continue the legacy. They loved the recipes, the community connection, the whole thing. We agreed on $340,000. The day we signed the papers, Emma hugged me. We'll take care of Sweet Morning. I promise. I believed her. With my proceeds, I bought a small condo near the beach. Set up a retirement fund. Finally, at 65, I could rest. But the silence from Daniel haunted me. I sent him a letter. No response. I sent a check for $10,000 with a note. For your future. I love you, Mom. The check was never cashed. 6 months after the trial, I got a call from Brittany. Claire, Daniel's in therapy. Working through some things. My heart jumped. Is he okay? He's processing. The therapist helped him see that he'd been feeling entitled. That he'd convinced himself the bakery was his right instead of your property. He's ashamed. I don't want him to be ashamed. I want him to talk to me. He's not ready yet. But he asked me to tell you he's sorry. For the lawsuit. For the things he said. For everything. I cried. Tell him I love him. Tell him I forgive him. Tell him whenever he's ready I'm here. I will. It's been a year now. Daniel and I talk on the phone every few weeks. Brief calls. Polite. We're rebuilding slowly. Last month he drove down to visit. We had lunch at Sweet Morning, now beautifully run by Emma and David. Daniel looked around at the changes they'd made. The new menu items alongside my old recipes. It looks good, he said quietly. It does. I'm sorry, Mum. For everything. I was selfish. I thought I deserved it because I was your son. I didn't think about what you'd sacrificed. I know. My therapist helped me understand I was trying to take a shortcut. I wanted success without earning it. Just like Dad did with his affairs. I became the thing I hated. That comparison startled both of us. You're not your father, I said. I was acting like him. Taking what I wanted without considering who I hurt. He looked at me. You were right to say no. You were right to fight. I'm glad you did. We're not completely healed. Maybe we never will be. But we're talking. That's something. I've learnt things through all this. I learned that loving your children doesn't mean sacrificing your dignity, that boundaries aren't betrayal, that your life's work has value, even to family, especially to family. I've also learned I'm stronger than I thought. For 26 years, I was defined by the bakery. For 34 years before that, I was defined by being Daniel's mother, Robert's wife. Now, at 66, I'm learning to be just Claire. I've joined a pottery class. I volunteer at the literacy centre. I've travelled to places I'd only dreamed about. My church group is planning a trip to Italy next spring. And sometimes, on early mornings when I wake out of habit at 4 a.m., I drive past Sweet Morning. Watch Emma and David through the window, starting the ovens, kneading dough, building their dream. I smile and keep driving. Toward the beach, toward the sunrise, toward whatever comes next. Because I earned this. Every bit of it. And that's not selfish. That's survival. That's dignity. That's knowing your worth. And no one, not even your own child, should ever make you apologize for that.